Yeah, good morning. I think it's morning, 11 o'clock up here. So we got the NTSB preliminary report, and I've been harping on whether the dragger detector in Salem picked up everything. I live on the street that was spotted in the video. It's about a mile south of me on the tracks, but the train runs a diagonal, so it's actually closer west-southwest of here if something were to happen. So, eastbound Norfolk Southern train, number 32N, it's the 3rd of February, 2023, and a little bit before 9 p.m. is when all this happened in East Palestine. So, that's made up of 2 locomotives with 109 cars, with 1 other locomotive, and after that locomotive, 39 more cars. 1 3/4 miles plus or minus, and we didn't have trains that long when I worked on there. That's one of the problems. If your railroad can't handle the longer trains and you're having derailments, make them smaller. At the time, it was doing 47 miles an hour in a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Norfolk Southern caused this poisonous thing a general merchandise train, and that's part of them legislating. They hand out millions, billions, political donations, both sides, and lobbying, so nobody messes with their profits. So the dragging and hot bearing detectors, I've been out looking at these the last 2 weeks. Sebring rings in on me on the radio 79.8, and the NTSB reports 79.9. Car number 23 registered 38 degrees above ambient temperature. And that's reported after, immediately when there's a problem to, so the conductor can hear it over the radio. So there's a problem, and they kept going. So 79.8, just over 9 miles. They get to Salem. It's spotted on a video around 79.6 or 7, which is my street. 69.6 or 7 milepost, which is South Ellsworth and Salem, the Butech Bliss security video. Car number 23, down the tracks a half a mile, is reporting 103 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's up 65 degrees and 9.1 miles. And they kept going. Did they think this thing was going to cool down? They have a problem, and they keep going. If you got a bearing on a car is one thing, but this is a train, and these are people's lives at stake. Everybody from the CEO on down needs to be put out of this company. This is just total disaster. So by the time they get to East Palestine, it's too late. And you know what? All these detectors are where people live. They're not in between, so they can stop it before it gets to a city. East Palestine is about 30 yards east of the main street, Ohio Route 170. The damn thing was at 253 degrees. Finally says, hey, this is critical. Okay. Instead of, they pushed the train how many miles so far? 30 miles since it got the first report. And instead of gliding to a nice, easy stop, they decided to hit the brakes. And whatever problem they had, they've got the archaic brake system. From what I knew 10 years ago, I thought these trains were supposed to, but have a new brake system where everything was safer, electronically controlled. Well, this would have got away with it because they did their lobbying, and they called it a merchandise train because it's carrying merchandise, maybe more than deadly chemicals. So this thing's up 150 degrees from the time it went from Salem. And you look at that, and it's just under 20 miles. They went further past Salem, 20 miles. It's 215 degrees up from when they went through Sebring. Did they think this thing was going to solve itself? There's your problem right there, and that's what I've been saying the whole time. And I didn't know if the one in Salem worked, or if they ignored it, or what. Now, I've seen on another video where they actually tested these things with charcoal, electric charcoal starters, instead of some precision test equipment. For the love of God, is the railroad putting our lives in danger without buying the right test equipment? Now, that wasn't this railroad. It was somewhere else in the country where it's flat. But a freaking charcoal starter on something that our lives depend on? There's the problem. It did ring in higher temperatures, and I'm still not sure if the Fahrenheit is supposed to be centigrade. But car number 23, they don't say which axle. Usually they give an axle number, and then each car's got 4 axles. So that's what's reported to them through the radio. And I'm not getting a signal in here from the train that just went by so far, so my radio's not picking up in here. So I've got videos on so far of all the detectors in Sebring going off, Salem, and a couple days ago in East Palestine. And that's where I came up with my NNS milepost numbers. And I stopped in the one in Salem, did a video, East Palestine, almost 2 weeks ago. And Sebring, I just drove by. It was in a different location when I worked there. So I went on to Pennsylvania. Today's Thursday, Tuesday. I went over. Said I want to check out the dragger and detector in New Galilee. When I worked Conrail, they had one there. Went back and forth between New Galilee and Enon. Last time following a train and then waiting. There isn't one. It's been taken out. And that would protect East Palestine for a westbound train. But if anything happens between the 20 miles that the NTSB requires, I mean, these are bearings with a massive amount of weight and torque, and stopping and starting on them. These aren't your regular car bearings. Well, there it is. They knew they had a problem. So, 38 degrees above ambient temperature in Sebring, and it was reported. Kept going. Figured, hell, let's put the lives of Salem in danger. 103 degrees up. I'm like, hey, that's not good enough. Let's just keep going. And East Palestine bit it. 253 degrees up. It's something that should have been stopped at the first reporting. And we don't know what the previous detector before Sebring was. So I haven't looked to see if this came off the Cleveland line into Alliance or the Fort Wayne line. NNS has kind of renamed stuff from what Pennsylvania Railroad, Penn Central, and Conrail used. Now there it is. So that detector, that train's already in East Palestine. That's car number 23 behind 2 locomotives. And then they put on the braking and then went to emergency stop. And I believe, and I'm not sure, but I believe if they would have just coasted to a stop at this point, it might not have derailed. Now they're putting torque. They're putting something on that should have failed, and they put it under more stress. This should have been the gentlest glide, but it should have never got past Sebring. There it is. National Traffic Safety Board. And under them's the FRA. This is the preliminary report. And then they're going to inspect all these parts and stuff. But the fact that they can mix and match, and you'll see it, poisonous chemicals with other stuff, grains from farms and everything, and call it a general merchandise train so they can get by. and classifying the train. So if they did ever pass that braking system, which I was understood that they did a decade or more ago, that they were going to make safer brakes. They didn't. And now you got a town that's in deep shit. I went out there and I'm looking for squirrels and birds. I'm looking for the wildlife that drinks out of these streams and puddles. And it's a total nightmare. It's a super fun sight instantly because of this. A bearing doesn't get better. You can get away with something in a car sometimes. But this is massive, heavy equipment. And the other thing is when these things go around turns, they've got greasers. There's no differentials where one wheel's going to spin independent of the other. Imagine the torque that crap's putting on every turn on this bearing. There it is. Whatever the hell they got in their book, they should have stopped to start with. They got a bearing that's going to fail. They got deadly chemicals and flammable and all kinds of stuff on board. And even something safe can kill wildlife in concentrations. I'm disgusted. My son lives 1 block away from where it was on fire going through Salem. And he just had a son delivered this weekend. This is sick. This is criminal. They need to be locked up. This is just complete bull. So deregulation is the dumbest damn thing. These people are out for the bucks, and that's all they think about. How much is each one of these detectors to put in? And they didn't listen to the ones they had. Hell, it's a 20-mile gap between Salem and East Palestine. And it should be before they get to the damn city or a waterway. They need to handcuff that CEO. This is crap. So they got a thing, it didn't get critical until it got 253 degrees. The damn thing's going up. They can't do the math on this. It could have failed much earlier. 38, 103, 253. And it's on fire as it goes through Salem, shooting sparks. I'm disgusted. I don't even live in Palestine, and I'm disgusted. So we're going to do a video later because on their website, they describe about their policy given to both political parties. And then they give a whole lot more for lobbying so they can get away with this kind of stuff. They spent more than they'll ever put into East Palestine or any other place for cleanup. And that's not just the railroad, that's everybody. So they can screw you for more money. They're not keeping costs low for your benefit. I'm sorry, that's what I was looking for. And like I said, you can go back and check my other videos. I just put up the one today where I'm sitting there waiting for the East Palestine hot box detector. And everything I've recorded is no defects. So I was wondering if they worked at all. But they need the exact test equipment they call out, not a goddamn charcoal starter like another railroad had. So I'm not sure what they use here. But it better be some pretty damn good test equipment. And they need to hire more people. You know, this is just Greed in any freaking thing just is the bad thing. This is bad. This could have been your town. And they got warnings. At least 30 miles. So I got to find out if there's another detector. I mean, if it's up 38 degrees already, something had to be reported a little bit off somewhere. But every curve is a torque on that thing. Grease or no grease. It's a solid axle. One side turns, the other side's got a spin, or that's the squeals you hear. And the train's got to be shorter. They're just, they're not screwing the pooch. They're screwing everybody that lives near and downstream on waters from the railroad. And as far as I'm concerned, they bought the city of East Palestine. So East Palestine, you need swabs done, not just air tested, water tested. You needed somebody to swab your car, the inside of your house, and test the chemicals around your siding. Who knows what you're cleaning up with might react with what the hell they let loose on your house. And we need the data from the water, from the air test, not just, oh, it's fine. We want the data from day one. We want it listed. We want it handed out. Ohio EPA, federal EPA. We want the numbers. All right, yeah, this is just, it's a nightmare. So I found this online. It's a 4-page report, and I printed it out. And this is exactly what I've been looking for, and this is what I've been driving around 2 weeks looking at least. So be safe out there. And the other thing is I'm hearing trains running constantly at night so they can work on this stuff in the daytime. And also the temperature when this happened was 10 degrees. It was nasty that Friday. This is the day after the Groundhog Day. And there's a lot of groundhogs that won't be waking up next February. Take care.